Hi everybody, this is Richard again. Today I wanted to describe my Fender Jazzmaster guitar. The Fender Jazzmaster guitar was designed by Leo Fender in 1958. It was a way of him trying to break into the jazz guitar market that was dominated by Gibson. One thing you notice about the design of it, the body, it's got what's called the offset waist style body. It looks very different than all the other Fender guitars. It's got some interesting features as well. You notice these really large pickups. They look like Gibson P90 soap bar pickups, but they're actually Fender single coil pickups. But instead of like a traditional Fender pickup that's wound narrow and tall, these are short and wide to give that kind of a warmer, jazzier kind of a... features it has is the rosewood fretboard, which was popular with jazz guitarists at the time. Another cool feature is the kind of unique bridge pickup on this guitar. It's got a separate bridge and tailpiece, which is kind of modeled after a Gibson, I suppose. It has this extra long whammy bar here, which one cool thing about that is it gives kind of a lot more control over the sound. You can have a fast kind of a sound or a slow, which is really cool. One of the problems they have with a couple of problems they have with the Fender Jazzmaster was the bridge was kind of buzzy because of the angle of when the strings came off the bridge and went down to the tailpiece. It was a low angle and it would often buzz. But there's an aftermarket part that I have on here installed called the buzz stop. And all you simply do is just take the first two screws out of the tailpiece here, put this on, run the strings through it, and it requires no modification of the guitar whatsoever. And it changes the angle of the strings coming off the bridge, so it's a much sharper angle, like a traditional Fender, so it doesn't really create that buzz problem anymore. Some unique features of this guitar is the separate rhythm circuit up top here. If you flick this switch up here, it's just the neck pickup, and there's a volume and a tone control. And the tone is really more of a high roll-off, so you know, if you roll this down towards the bridge, it has a real that warm, jazzy kind of a tone. You can put it up here, it has a little brighter. The cool thing about this is if you have a one-channel guitar amplifier, you don't have to go switching between channels. You just flip this switch and you do your rhythm parts, you know. Then you flick this down, and then down here, the regular circuit, you have a three-position switch. The first position is the neck pickup here. The middle pickup, Fenders are famous for having this kind of hum. If you listen, there's like a, you know, they have a kind of a single coil hum. But if you put this switch in the middle, it actually runs the pickups in a way that it acts like a humbucker. You don't get that hum, and you get kind of a Gibson-y kind of heavy. And if you put the switch down here, but for the bridge pickup, even though this, you know, kind of a jazzy guitar, it has that cutting kind of Fender sound, you know, like helter skelter, like a. So it still, to me, sounds like a Fender in that pickup position here. So this is a pretty versatile guitar. You get that Fender sound, you get the Gibson sound, you get the you know, the separate rhythm circuit, the jazz kind of. So when Fender came out with this guitar in '58, it was kind of a dud. It didn't really sell very well. It wasn't very popular with the jazz guitarists. So it seemed like their first dud. And then a few years later, the surf craze kicked in, and the surf guitarists loved the Fender Jazzmaster. It just had that great kind of like play that riff, but you know, it just has that kind of great. Surf guys, it was pretty popular, and then it kind of faded out again in the mid 70s, late 70s. Fender stopped making them around 1979, and then some of the punk rockers and new wavers started picking up Jazzmasters, like Elvis Costello, and later the guys from Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. Those guys were all prominent Jazzmaster players at the time. But it's a really great guitar, great sounding guitar. At the time it came out, it was considered their top-of-the-line model. This one is finished in Daphne blue, and it has also the matching headstock, as you can see here. Really nice guitar. You know, it's got a nice feel. It's really meant to be played sitting down. It has that. That's what that offset contour body is for. It's really for the, you know, like the jazz guys. You know, they sit down and they pick out their, that kind of tone and the feel. It's a little heavier than a Stratocaster. The headstock's a little bit wider here in the neck. The late 70s Stratocasters actually adopted this width in the late 70s. Otherwise, it's you know, just a cool looking guitar, great playing guitar. This particular one is a American Vintage 62 reissue. It's not actually a vintage guitar. It's modeled after the 62 Jazzmaster. But great sounding guitar, great playing guitar, great action. Just you know, cool. I've been using it for a lot of recording. It just sounds great, plays great. Beautiful guitar. Just wanted to show you that.